places in the world, that's not a problem. It's a way of life. And rights, they're liable to give you a blank stare because they may not know what you're talking about.
Jack Webb was a man of contradictions. On screen, he was known as the calm, serious, and by-the-book Sergeant Joe Friday from Dragnet, a character who became the symbol of honesty and order in American television. But off-camera, Webb was a completely different person. He was intense, demanding, and famously short-tempered. While he respected discipline and hard work, he had little patience for people who didn't share his strict vision. Those who worked with him often described him as brilliant but extremely difficult. To some, he was a genius who changed television forever. To others, he was a perfectionist who could turn friendly cooperation into fiery conflict. Over his long career, Webb worked with hundreds of actors, directors, and writers. Yet there were a few people he could never forgive. 5 individuals who clashed so deeply with him that the tension never truly disappeared. These were not simple disagreements. They were personal, emotional battles that tested his self-control and reputation. Jack Webb was born on April 2, 1920, in Santa Monica, California. His childhood was not easy. His father left before he was born, and his mother struggled to raise him in the rough neighborhoods of Los Angeles. Webb grew up surrounded by hardship, but he developed a passion for creativity early on. In high school, he joined the radio club and drew cartoons for the yearbook. He was intelligent, talented, and serious about his future. After graduation, he studied art in Minnesota, but his plans changed when World War II began. Webb joined the U.S. Army Air Corps, hoping to become a pilot. Unfortunately, he failed flight training and ended up working as a clerk. Later, he was discharged so he could care for his family. During his service, Webb performed in small USO shows, which helped him rediscover his love for acting and storytelling. After the war, he moved to San Francisco and found work in radio. It was there that he learned the importance of timing, dialogue, and authenticity, qualities that would define his later work. Webb's big break came in the late 1940s when he started appearing in radio dramas. His serious tone and deep voice made him stand out. One of his first major successes was Pat Novak for Hire, a crime drama full of hard-boiled dialogue and dark humor. But it was his appearance in the 1948 film He Walked by Night that changed everything. Playing a small role as a lab technician, Webb was fascinated by the film's realistic portrayal of police work. He realized there was power in showing law enforcement not as movie heroes, but as real people doing difficult jobs. This idea became the foundation for his greatest creation, Dragnet. When Dragnet premiered on radio in 1949 and later moved to television in 1951, it introduced a new kind of realism. Webb's character, Sergeant Joe Friday, was calm, professional, and emotionless. Every line was delivered with precision. Webb insisted that everything, from the background sounds to the wording of police reports, had to be accurate. He worked long hours to make sure every scene felt real. This attention to detail made Dragnet one of the most influential shows in TV history. But Webb's obsession with control also made him difficult to work with. For some, it even turned into hatred. The first major clash in Webb's career was with actor Richard Boone, star of the TV series Heck Ramsay. Boone was already a well-known actor when he teamed up with Webb in the early 1970s. Webb's production company co-created the show, and while Boone played the lead role, Webb was the man behind the camera controlling the story. At first, things went smoothly, but soon Boone began to feel that Webb was taking over. Webb often rewrote scripts, replaced directors, and made creative decisions without consulting anyone. Boone, who valued artistic freedom, hated being micromanaged. He accused Webb of destroying the spirit of the show just to have things his way. Their arguments became heated in public. Webb demanded discipline and obedience, while Boone wanted flexibility and emotion. Eventually, the tension became unbearable. Some insiders claimed Boone threatened to quit, while others said Webb called him unmanageable. The show ended after only 2 seasons, not because of poor ratings, but because of the war between its star and producer. Their relationship was a classic example of what happened when 2 strong personalities collided. Boone was bold and emotional. Webb was rigid and controlling. Neither could bend, and both lost in the end. Next came William Conrad, a powerful radio actor whose deep voice helped make Dragnet a hit in its early radio days. Conrad worked closely with Webb when the show was first created, and he naturally expected to join the TV version as well. But when Dragnet moved to television, Webb decided to cast himself in the lead role and hired someone else as his partner. Conrad never got the call. He was deeply hurt, not only because he lost a role, but because he had helped build the show from the ground up. People in Hollywood whispered that Webb rejected Conrad because of his appearance. He was heavier and didn't fit the TV look Webb wanted. Others believed Webb simply didn't want to share control with another strong personality. Whatever the reason, it was a brutal decision. Webb never publicly mentioned Conrad again, and Conrad rarely spoke of him. To many, this was one of Webb's coldest acts, replacing a loyal collaborator to protect his authority. It wasn't the kind of loud public fight that Webb had with Boone, but it was a quiet betrayal that damaged a friendship forever. This decision showed how ruthless Webb could be when it came to protecting his creative power. Perhaps the most surprising tension came between Webb and his most famous co-star, Harry Morgan, who played Officer Bill Gannon in the Dragnet revival that began in 1967. On screen, the two men seemed to share perfect chemistry. They were calm, professional, and even funny in a subtle way. But behind the scenes, things weren't as smooth. Harry Morgan came from a traditional acting background. He liked to explore emotions, improvise lines, and find natural rhythm in scenes. Webb didn't allow any of that. He refused to rehearse and demanded that every actor read their lines exactly as written. No changes, no emotion, just facts. Webb believed that was how real police officers spoke. Morgan respected Webb's discipline, but found the process exhausting. He once said, "Jack was a good man, but you had to do it his way, completely his way." It was a polite statement that revealed deep frustration. While they never had a public fight, the quiet pressure between them was always present. Morgan stayed professional, but those who worked on set could feel the unspoken tension. It showed how even Webb's most loyal partners had to sacrifice creative freedom to work under his command. Webb's next major conflict came not with an actor but with a close creative partner, Robert A. Sinider, the man who helped him produce hits like Adam 12 and Emergency. Sinider was logical, calm, and dedicated, but he also had a softer vision for storytelling. He wanted to show the emotional side of police officers and paramedics, their fears, their doubts, their humanity. Webb disagreed. He believed that real professionals didn't show emotion, and he wanted his shows to reflect that same discipline. The two men often argued during script meetings. Sinider wanted drama and character growth, while Webb wanted strict realism. Crew members recalled that Webb would angrily cross out pages of dialogue that he felt were too emotional. Despite their differences, the two kept working together for years, but their partnership was never the same. It was no longer a team effort. Webb had the final say in everything. Their creative tug-of-war symbolized the central conflict in Webb's career, his struggle to balance human emotion with professional control. He wanted to show truth, but his version of truth often felt cold and mechanical. Jack Webb's strict personality didn't only affect actors. Many writers and directors found working with him nearly impossible. He demanded total obedience. Scripts had to be perfect, delivered on time, and follow real police procedures word for word. Any scene that added humor, emotion, or improvisation was quickly removed. One director said Webb would call in the middle of the night demanding changes, only to cancel them the next morning. Others said he would fire people without warning if they disagreed with him. One writer famously joked, "You don't work for Jack Webb, you survive him." While Webb's methods produced some of the most realistic shows of the era, they also created an environment of fear. Many talented people refused to work with him again, yet even those who left admitted that Webb was brilliant. He wanted his shows to honor the truth of real police work, and he never compromised that goal, no matter who he upset. This unbending attitude gave him both respect and resentment in Hollywood. He was the man who made TV police dramas real, but also the man who made real drama behind the scenes. Despite all the conflicts, Jack Webb's contribution to American television was extraordinary. Dragnet became one of the most iconic shows ever made. It introduced phrases like, "Just the facts, ma'am," and changed how people viewed police officers. Webb's obsession with realism inspired later series like Adam 12 and Emergency, which showed law enforcement and rescue workers as brave professionals instead of action heroes. He was also deeply passionate about jazz music. Webb's disagreements weren't just private tensions. They had visible effects on the people and projects around him. Many crew members recalled how the mood on set could change when Webb was upset with someone. He was known for his calm but intense personality. When he was angry, he didn't need to shout. Just his silence or short sentences were enough to make everyone nervous. Some actors said that working with him felt like walking on thin ice. One wrong word could freeze your career. Webb's strong personality was a mix of military discipline and personal pride, which made him both respected and feared. Yet, despite his temper, people couldn't deny that he got results. His shows were efficient, organized, and highly successful. Over time, Webb's perfectionism became both his greatest strength and his biggest weakness. He demanded excellence from everyone, even when they didn't share his vision. When conflicts occurred, he usually believed he was right, and he often was. But his inability to forgive made teamwork hard. People who clashed with him rarely got a second chance. To Webb, loyalty was everything, and once that was broken, there was no going back. In Hollywood, where relationships were fragile, this approach often left him isolated. But Webb didn't mind. He used that isolation as motivation to keep building his own empire. One show, one episode, one scene at a time. Even with all the conflicts, Jack Webb's contribution to American television was enormous. His creation, Dragnet, wasn't just a show. It was a cultural turning point. Before Dragnet, most police shows were filled with action and emotion, but Webb made something different. He focused on realism, showing the routine and discipline of police work. His goal was to make the audience understand how hard and serious the job really was. Every episode opened with the famous line, "The story you are about to see is true." That simple sentence built trust with viewers. They believed what they saw because Webb's style made everything look authentic. The attention to detail in Dragnet became the gold standard for crime dramas. Webb worked closely with the Los Angeles Police Department, ensuring that even small things, like badge numbers or radio codes, were accurate. This made the show not just entertaining, but educational. Many police officers admired Webb for his respect toward their profession. In fact, when Dragnet ended, the LAPD honored Webb by retiring badge number 714, the badge number of his character, Sergeant Joe Friday. That was an incredible moment, something that had never happened before for a television actor. It proved how deeply his work had touched real lives. But while Webb's shows were thriving, his personal life was quietly falling apart. The more success he achieved, the lonelier he became. Many of his friends had drifted away after heated arguments or misunderstandings. His marriages had ended, and his perfectionism left little room for love or relaxation. He spent most of his time at work or home, rewatching police documentaries or writing scripts. Some of his close associates later said that Webb didn't really know how to enjoy success. He was always chasing the next challenge, the next perfect project. After the original Dragnet series ended, Webb launched several new projects, including Adam 12 and Emergency, both of which became popular. But behind the scenes, he still struggled with control issues. Directors and actors often felt suffocated by his strict rules. He wanted every line read exactly as written, every scene filmed at precise angles, and every emotion delivered with restraint. This control gave his shows their trademark realism, but it also drained creativity from others. Some people quietly said that working with Webb was like working in the army, efficient, but never fun. Still, there were those who admired him deeply. To many young actors, Webb was a teacher who showed them how to behave professionally. He taught punctuality, respect for the camera, and dedication to the script. These lessons helped shape generations of performers. His methods might have been hard, but they created results. Even those who disliked him admitted that Dragnet and Adam 12 were pieces of television history that would never fade. As the years went by, television changed, and so did the public's view of Jack Webb. By the late 1970s, audiences wanted more emotion, humor, and action in their shows. Webb's slow, realistic style started to look old-fashioned. Younger viewers found his delivery stiff, while others still appreciated his honesty. Critics began calling him a relic of an earlier time, someone who refused to change. Webb didn't care much about the criticism. He believed in his method and didn't see any reason to adjust to trends. Unfortunately, this stubbornness limited his opportunities. Hollywood moved on, but Webb stayed the same. In the early 1980s, Webb tried to revive Dragnet again, but it didn't have the same impact as before. The industry had evolved, and audiences were looking for faster-paced storytelling. Despite that, Webb's earlier work continued to influence new shows. Series like Hill Street Blues, NYPD Blue, and even Law and Order owe part of their DNA to Webb's formula: procedural storytelling, realism, and respect for police work. So even though Webb's later career slowed down, his legacy was